Hello and welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk. I'm Becky Bracken, an editor with Dark Reading, and I am thrilled to welcome our next guest, Austin Shamlin, who's CEO and founder of the Traverse Project, and Tiffany Rad, CEO and founder of Anatrope Inc. This year, they've teamed up to take on a serious challenge with their Black Hat presentation on civil cyber defense. Use your resources to defend nonprofits as they combat human trafficking, subvert authoritarian regimes. I'm having a heck of a time. Secure authoritarian regimes. Excuse me. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is a gut punch. And I think it's so interesting. You know, last year we really heard a lot from the cybersecurity community about throwing resources behind protecting Ukrainian citizens in the wake of the invasion. This just seems like another extension of the cybersecurity community looking out at what they can do. How did you all settle on this research, and what can the cybersecurity community do? Maybe Austin, you can help us frame the problem in the way that we can sort of
Absolutely.
get, yeah.
So as we sit here today, there's roughly 28 million people that are in metaphorical or literal chains, that covers the labor trafficking aspect of human trafficking. And under that category, you have organ trafficking and sex trafficking. The list goes on and on and on, right? So, you brought up Ukraine. That's a great example of where we saw a lot of human trafficking happen. Right? It was already a place that had a ton of human trafficking. Then you had women and children leaving Ukraine. All the men had to stay behind. And
I heard something like 700,000 Ukrainian children are missing.
Yeah, the numbers are astounding.
Yeah.
Right. I was in Poland last year, right on the border, and then went into Ukraine to kind of evaluate what was going on and where we could kind of help. It's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming for the governments. They're underfunded, the people that are tasked with fighting this fight. And so really, as an organization, in the nonprofit sector, we try to bring resources and funding to different organizations that are dealing with this problem, whether it be law enforcement or civil society or so on and so forth. So
NGOs.
right. So there's a huge push for nonprofits to be doing this work globally.
Sure.
Our organization specifically deals with human trafficking outside of the borders, outside of the United States, with a nexus to the United States. So, for example, we have a project in Texas that is mapping out human trafficking networks that operate in Texas, and then trying to push that
And
network
trace them back.
across. Right. So essentially, I want to get from Houston to Peru and Guatemala and find what that network looks like.
Enter in our cybersecurity experts
Absolutely.
who can do that sort of thing. So Tiffany, where do you come in?
Some of my work with Anatrope is I do a lot with the transportation infrastructure, cybersecurity for vehicles, and for the infrastructure around them. But I'm here doing a presentation with Austin about some work I do with UC Berkeley. We work with nonprofits, high-risk nonprofits, and actually Austin's organization is going to be our client in the fall. So at Berkeley, my class is Citizen Clinic, and we're through the Center for Long-Term Cybersecurity at Berkeley, which is also a nonprofit. And we take about 14 students from all over the university, both in cybersecurity, policy, business, and law. And we work with organizations such as Austin's by providing free cybersecurity consulting. And for Austin's organization, we're going to help them with that, but we're also going to help do perhaps some machine learning for the data that they go through. So my students will pro bono help organizations such as Austin's. So it's called Civil Cyber Defense, and this is one of many clinics in the United States that do this through academia. And we're here talking about this because we'd like to start some more clinics up around the country so more in academia can get, students that are studying cybersecurity can get really hands-on experience applying what they're learning to organizations, high-risk nonprofits such as Austin's.
And how does that make a difference in your work?
So, obviously, nonprofit, we live and breathe on donations, right?
Sure.
And it's hard, especially with the economy the way it is right now.
And you can't hire a multi-$100,000 cybersecurity expert.
Absolutely. So our entire staff, we have one paid employee. It is not me. And everybody else is volunteers. We have a bunch of military veterans, we have, and they just come from an amazing background. We have people from academia who, Tiffany also volunteers with us and wears about 12 different hats at Traverse on top of the 12 hats she wears for all of her other jobs. But then also her students are fantastic. So after Tiffany and I had met, we had done a kind of a presentation to our students, just kind of a Q&A presentation. And a bunch of our students got involved and are now working as analysts for us at Traverse, or volunteering as analysts.
All right, that's awesome.
So it really became this this environment of just everybody working
All
together.
hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about in your clinics why it's important to have that holistic sort of expertise bringing to bear at the same time, the policy and the law, and tell me about how that works.
Well, one of the things that's important is the first 6 weeks, all students get cybersecurity training. So whether they come from law or policy
They'll
or management,
always be able to use it.
yeah, we teach them how to hide online, in the sense that we want them to hide their identity as well, because Austin's his organization's he's open to my students knowing who he is, and they know who he is, and vice versa. But most organizations that we have are very quiet about the work that they do, so they don't know who the
Because
students are.
they don't want to tip off the bad guys? Is that the idea?
It's one of these things also that we want to protect the students, because we assume that the adversaries are probably already in the systems that we're going to be looking at. So
Right.
students' images aren't shown, they use aliases. And it's a good thing, because as I mentioned at our talk yesterday, we had a client that had Pegasus, and which is a very rare sort of, and an
Yeah,
extraordinary tool
it's
for
exotic.
a nonprofit that isn't, we were surprised to see that, but it protected the students against that type of problem that we see. So that's one of the reasons that we have this from all across the university, is that cybersecurity is a lot of policy as well. I'm also an attorney, as well as doing the hacking stuff.
Because you're an
doing
underachiever.
and so I have to look at sometimes with HIPAA and GDPR, and so we have, when we get a client, we try to do a lot, as much as we can for them, even a little bit with like project management, help them get on the schedule of when you're going to implement these security changes and policies, how you're going to do the education for your volunteers and protesters that work with your organization. So it's a one semester class, but we do continue the conversations with the clients to see how we can help them later on. So it's like running a company, as I explained it during our talk, every 4 months with 100% turnover. So I have to train everyone up, we get to know the client, and then the students finish the class, and I do it again the next semester.
But what a gift to take that with them. I mean, as a researcher, I'm a journalist and a researcher. I mean, those things are invaluable, those skills.
We have journalists from the school at Berkeley that are working with us as well, because they're really good at getting the message out too, should the client be interested in that, about what they do and how they do it, because a lot of these nonprofits are also underfunded, and they do such brave and important work, and they have adversaries that are countries.
Yeah,
So,
because North Korea, I understand, is itself like a nation state human trafficker, correct?
yes.
There's a lot about that.
Okay, so as disheartening as all this is, now we have a way to trace these things back, and now we have some leads to follow. What is the hope that more and more cybersecurity folks will bring all their skills to bear on this type of tracking? Is there more work to be done beyond that? What is your hope for the future?
Yeah, we're here to talk to people about, they have fantastic skills, and the hackers that we are going to talk to at DEF CON next week as well, because their problem-solving skills are, for my students too, some of the most extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Really good. So they have a lot that they can do to help us out, whether they do network security, or even with Red Team. We don't do Red Team for our clients, but the way that they address the problem and work to solve things. There's work to be done, and I'd love volunteers at the clinic, because we've been running for about 3 years, but we would like to have some cybersecurity professionals with other types of skill sets, including lawyers, because I need some help. I'm the only instructor right now. So, but we have good news. Google has donated $100 million to
All
be,
right.
or no, sorry, 20 million. Let me make that correction. $20 million to
They
start
could
up.
afford 100.
Yeah, they were very generous with the 20, and the goal is to start up more clinics like Citizen Clinic. So we'll get a little bit, Berkeley will get some of that, and then they want more clinics to be started. So, and right now we're operating off of funding from Craig Newmark, who was the founder of Craigslist. And his generous funding has funded some clinics that do exist out there right now, and including the one I work for.
Thank you so much for your work and for being here today. It's such I mean, just to hear these stories and what cybersecurity can do beyond ROI and locking down the keys to the kingdom is meaningful. So I really appreciate it. And to you out there, the call is out for the cybersecurity community to get involved with nonprofits. So thank you both. I appreciate it.
So much for your time.